Hello, everybody. Hello. Forgive me, I'm still not 100%, everyone, but excuse me, we're doing our best, right? Hello, welcome in. Hello, PJ, welcome. Get a different pen. Excuse me. Again, I do have a cough. I'm not completely healed yet from my cold, so if that's, excuse me, too annoying, then I understand. if you need to catch me later. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. We just got to say that. Keep saying that to yourself, right? And then eventually you'll be like, yeah, that's right. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, I will. I've had lots of resting. The other thing, too, that I'm really trying to focus on is when I do these lives, they are quite a bit shorter than what I've done in the past. So because of that, excuse me, because of that, I was only able to make it halfway through this document that I had been going through this morning. So this morning, I did just a drop-in live, and I wanted to read through the letter that's being sent out to different colleges and universities, and specifically these ones right here, where the administration is saying, you need to sign that you are going to agree with this. So sign the compact and promise that you're going to agree with all of these things we as the federal government executive branch want you to do, or you're not going to be able to have any federal funding. But if you do, we're going to give you extra benefits. And so that's kind of, the extra flip to it. You do what we tell you, we will give you a benefit. If you don't, we're going to take your funding. So one thing to remember too, of course, is that our state universities and colleges are, state universities and colleges. Private universities and colleges, again, they've got their own track that they go down. Of course, federal funding is so incredibly important, but state funding is too, and they are asking for a lot of concessions here. Of course, I know, yes, I agree, semantic, I agree. So in the first half, let me just do a review here, and then I'll dive into the second half here. So, and these will both be posted up on my Tube of You very soon. I've got a lot of things in the queue, so it takes me a little bit to get these up. Should blue states stop paying taxes? I don't know. I don't know enough about tax law to understand how that all works. It's so nuanced what the state is required to do based off of what the feds give as a benefit. So I just don't know at this point. I would say look to California right now. They are leading the way. Look to California. Look to Harvard. Those are the two places where they're like, we're not doing this. So the universities here that are listed have received this document, and they're waiting for them to say, yeah, we're going to follow it. Hello, Lee. Hello, so unique. Right, Kathy. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's just they are presenting this idea that you don't have to, submit. You don't have to submit to this kind of stuff. You'll be okay. So we have the University of Arizona, Brown University, Dartmouth College, Massachusetts Institution of Tech, University of Pennsylvania, University of Southern California, University of Texas, Vanderbilt University, and University of Virginia. So they've all received this compact for academic excellence. And what has happened out of California is that the governor has said to the universities and colleges in California, if you sign this, we will withhold state funds. And because we're talking about state colleges, that's going to have a pretty big impact. All right, so that's something to really think about. Hello, Casey. Welcome. Right, Cindy. A lot of people are, yeah, this is pretty awful. Do universities have something in common? Seems like an odd list. Yeah, it's a good question. And, the only thing I can see here is that they're just maybe in areas that may be more blue than other places. We do have, Texas here and Virginia, so I don't think it's a state situation, but I think perhaps the universities themselves. Also, the administration is trying very hard to use different pieces of the law in order to kind of work backwards and find people who have violated it. So, like what they're doing for Columbia, actually, and Harvard, where they're saying there's civil rights violations for protests. And then they work back from that. They're like, well, you've got some, we're going to say that you had some, and so now we're going to take away, your funding. Or even more importantly, your accreditation at the federal level. So we have a lot of that going on. Right. So again, just to kind of jump back in here, this morning I did do, this is available also online for free if you're interested. I went through the introduction, excuse me, equality in admissions here, which, all right, marketplace of ideas in civil discourse. So that, and then number 3, non-discrimination in faculty and administrative hiring. Now, again, a lot of you who have gone through the Harvard case, this looks very similar to the letter that was sent to Harvard, right? So now they're just taking the example, taking their behavior towards Harvard and moving it to more colleges, right? So that's kind of what's happening. I guess the best way to put it is, when you have someone who's there's a possibility that you might have someone like, stealing your account number or your identity, right? And like the $1 goes through, and then you wait to see if the rest of the payment goes through. So we're kind of in that situation here with our education, with our universities. We're in a situation where they are trying various things around the country. And if they're not being stopped, then they are continuing to spread out and try more. Excuse me, apologies. All right. Ooh, free childcare. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So when last we spoke on this, we had made it to, excuse me, we had made it to financial responsibility. We should have one page in front of it. There we go. We were flipped. Oh my goodness. Sorry. I went a whole hour without coughing and I was like, okay, it's time to go live. And then now here I am. Sorry. So here we go. Hold on, let me see if I can get my cough calmed down here for a second. Whew. All right, here we go. So we'll just dive right back in. We did 1 through 4, and then here we are now in number 5. So student learning. Signatories, right, so these different colleges, commit to grade integrity and the use of defensible standards for whether students are achieving their goals with each grade, reflecting the quality, breadth, and depth of the student's achievement. Signatories acknowledge that a grade must not be inflated. And one thing I'd said earlier this morning was that obviously whomever wrote this has not worked in any kind of an education field. And that's very apparent. So must not be inflated or deflated for any non-academic reason, but only rigorously reflect the demonstrated mastery of a subject that the grade purports to represent. So again, I'll pause here and I'll say, they are telling the universities and the colleges how to grade students' work, right? So the federal government is saying this is how you need to grade your stuff for state universities and colleges, right? I mean, we're way out. We are beyond something that is reasonable by any means. It's absolutely, yeah. They're going too far here. All right, signatories will use public accountability mechanisms to demonstrate their commitment to grade integrity, such as publishing grade distribution dashboards with multi-year trend lines, public statements that explain student outcomes, and any unusual upward trends and comparisons with peer institutions. Again, could we micromanage this anymore? The answer to that is no. That's rhetorical. So the federal government, again, these aren't their schools. We don't have a federal, government university. I mean, there's some specialty schools, but we're not talking about that. What we're talking about here is they're saying, we're going to tell you how to grade, and we're going to tell you what you need to put out into the public to explain yourself and your grading. All right. So again, we're just yeah, exactly. way outside of the, outside of the boundaries here. So that's our student learning. Again, now, and I remind you, what they've done is they've sent this out and they said you need to sign it or you're not getting federal funds. And if you do sign it, we're going to give you extra benefits that other places are not going to have. So there's that. Student equality. Students shall be treated as individuals and not on the basis of their immutable characteristics, with due exceptions for sex-based privacy, safety, and fairness. So again, one of the things that this administration does over and over and over again is assumes that this isn't already happening. Like, they just assume that the worst case scenario is how they're doing it. And for anyone who has gone to college or to university, I betcha there's probably been some information where they explain, we are pro-equality. So this is already in play. Women's equality requires single sex spaces, such as bathrooms and locker rooms, and fair competition, such as in sports. Institutions commit to defining and otherwise interpreting male, female, woman, and man according to reproductive function and biological processes. Otherwise, immutable characteristics, particularly race, do not permit unequal treatment, including in grading, as well as access to buildings, spaces, scholarships, programming, and other university resources. Again, you can see how they just lack the basic knowledge of how universities and colleges run, right? It's so clear. Student equality includes equality in discipline. Signatories shall maintain clear and consistent disciplinary standards that apply equally to all students, faculty, and staff. These standards should promote fairness, due process, and equal treatment, and should be administered in a manner consistent with the institutional policies and applicable law. These standards shall never favor or disfavor any person because of his or her membership in a racial, ethnic, national, or religious group, or a group based off of sex. So again, of course not, because that's illegal to discriminate against somebody for one of these things. So I don't think they understand how civil rights cases go either. Number 7, financial responsibility. Too many young adults have become saddled with life-altering debt that has affected, among other things, their ability to have a family or purchase a home. Universities have a duty to control their costs, including eliminating unnecessary administrative staff, reducing tuition burdens, engaging in transparent accounting and regular auditing for misuse of funds, and cutting unnecessary costs. I mean, again, right? Signatories acknowledge that universities that receive federal funds have a duty to reduce administrative costs as far as reasonably possible and streamline or eliminate academic programs that fail to serve students. towards this end, signatories to this compact. So if you sign up, you're committing to freezing the effective tuition rates charged to American students for the next 5 years. So they're saying you are going to freeze your tuition rate, only for American citizens, for the next 5 years. That to me is one of the moments where we're seeing a significant conflict between the federal government and the state, right? Because these are state universities and state colleges, and the federal government is telling them how to set their tuition and who to hire, essentially, and who to fire, right? They're telling them also how to grade papers from the students, and how to present to the public that they are being fair about it. Oh my gosh, exactly. Oh, I know, it's awful, Big Grandma. I know, this is awful. All right, here we go. Further, universities poorly equip, here we go, 1 second here, students when they fail to inform them about likely life earnings for students' chosen majors, or admit students without the skills or support needed to succeed. What? Like, all schools are required to show how that works. That's just part of the process. Like, that's required. A university shall publicly post statistics about average earnings from graduates in each academic program, and shall refund tuition to students who drop out during the first academic term of their undergraduate studies. So we're going to set the tuition, and it's going to be frozen, and you have to refund tuition, not according to what you do, not according to what your Board of Regents or your state requires, but according to what we say as the federal government. Right. I know, it's so crazy. Oh my gosh. All right. Deep breath, everybody. Signatories shall responsibly deploy their endowments to the public good. So now they're controlling what happens with the endowments at the federal level. Any university with an endowment exceeding $2 million per undergraduate student will not charge tuition for admitted students pursuing hard science programs, with exceptions as desired for families of substantial means. So they themselves are discriminating right here. This is very discriminatory, because what they're saying is that so we're not charging tuition for the hard sciences if you have a good endowment. We don't care if that endowment barely pays for any of the tools and things that you need. Who cares about that? You're going to have to pay these students tuition. And then second, but if they have a family of substantial means, then, they can pay. Like, this isn't legal. This is discrimination against people who have families who have substantial means. So if your family is like super rich, then you're still going to have to pay your tuition. Meanwhile, if you're just, middle of the road, then you might get it for free. This is exactly what happens when people don't understand what equality is and how things are supposed to be. So they're just tossing out like, well, they don't mind paying. You can't put everybody in one group and say all families of substantial means, you all have to pay regular tuition. Meanwhile, everybody else gets it for free. And who are they to tell the state colleges and state universities about their tuition again, right? Not familiar with, exactly, Cindy, exactly. And Big Grandma, I tell you what, we've spent a lot of time on P25, and I've been dusting it off to bring it back. This is further. This goes further than what P25 had put out. All right, so that's egads. One size does not fit all. Exactly. And so you can't put that into essentially a contract that a university has to sign with a federal government, because again, if they don't do this, they don't receive federal funding. Right? That's just atrocious. That is such an abuse of power here. Yes, it is, Big Grandma. All right, here we go. Universities should also make efforts to expand professional opportunities for America's military service members and veterans. Right? To that end, signatories shall commit to accepting full transfer credits from the joint service transcript of military service members and veterans enrolling in undergraduate and graduate programs, applying it to general education course requirements, and where relevant, major specific course requirements. Again, let's make sure we understand what happened here. The federal government is telling the universities what classes will be able to be transferred to their own university, right? So if anyone's been a transfer student, I was a transfer student myself, right? You take your classes and then you go to whatever four-year you're looking at and you're like, okay, which classes are gonna transfer okay? Usually like 95% of the classes will if you have done it ahead of time. So now for here, instead of letting the universities and the states kind of figure this out because it's their colleges and universities, what they're saying is if it's a military situation, you have to accept whatever it is that they're bringing with them. You just have to do that. And it's like the federal government is telling them into the details, into the weeds of what's allowable. This is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous. Well, the thing is, and don't get me wrong, and I hear you. The thing is, I do not think that there should be any barriers for our military to come into school. I'm not saying that at all, but through my years teaching in higher education, the requirements for what works and what doesn't work are very specific. And typically what's supposed to happen is that you have a certain set of things that your course has to cover in order to go forward with accreditation, all right? So here, they're saying we're not going to even go through that list. It's just automatically going to transfer. So there's no way for them to have any test to make sure that the courses are appropriate or full credit in one place or another, right? So, and it's not like, oh, you're military, we don't want you in here. It's more of every single one who transfers is using the same test. So it doesn't matter if you're military or from another country or, from Texas, whatever. They're all using the same test. And so some are granted, some are not granted. And what they're saying here is that the universities don't get the option of deciding when it comes to veterans. They just have to do it. They just have to accept it. It doesn't matter. Exactly. Oh, the credit's going down to 0.25. Oh my gosh, I know. Otherwise, well, exactly right, Beth. Exactly right. And the thing is, the universities, when I've gone in and worked on several different sets of competencies and trying to make sure we push it back to what's required, they want to have these classes be credited. They want that to happen because then more students will come to their university. And a lot of the universities will even reach out to local community colleges, and make sure those colleges have kind of like a shadow when it comes to what classes are going to transfer to any of them. But of course, the state universities and state colleges talk amongst themselves as well. So I think, again, taking a look at this, as we've gone through this entire piece on financial responsibility, they're saying you need to freeze your tuition for 5 years and just for American students. All right. So that's illegal, right? So that's some discrimination. So you need to do that, and you need to get rid of your administrative staff, and you need to make sure that publicly you're posting stats about the earnings. Like maybe they already are, maybe they're not, we don't know, but now it's going to be required. We also have anywhere with an endowment setting out how much tuition someone's going to be paid, right? So or if the wealthier families don't have to pay. Again, this is discrimination. And then down here, setting out the requirements for transferring credits. Like, we're going to tell you which credits will transfer to your college or university. Right? So, oh my goodness gracious. All right, that's incredibly questionable. This has already been sent to them too, by the way. So if any of these colleges or universities that have received it have read through this and signed it, that's weird. All right, that's weird. Next up, foreign entanglements. And this is, again, pretty short. This is part 2. I did part 1 this morning. We just got a couple pages left here. So back in it here, which applicants to accept, in a way they are. In a way they are, because they're telling the university what they can and cannot use as a way of assessing if someone is admitted. All right, so they have not specified exactly, what the merit will look like. They haven't gone into those weeds, but they have certainly said these factors are not allowed to be used. These factors are only allowed to be used. And then from there, go forward. Yeah, I agree. All right, here we go. So number 8, foreign entanglements. All right. All universities must comply with anti-money laundering. Okay. Know your customer, KYC, and foreign gift disclosure obligations imposed by the federal government and the rules and regulations overseen by the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control and Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, the U.S. Department of Justice, which of course we know is compromised, and the Department of Education, which I thought was gone. This mandatory compliance is to assist federal government detecting, preventing, and eradicating criminal and T-or-risk financing inactivity. By entering into this agreement, universities agreed to take all necessary steps to comply with applicable anti-money laundering laws, KYC laws, and related regulations, and foreign gift and contract disclosure requirements. All students, staff, and faculty must comply with KYC and anti-money laundering laws. Well, all right. No shit, Sherlock, right? I mean, my goodness gracious, of course the universities have to comply with the law. Like, what? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, hold on here. I feel as though we've got some projecting going on here, all right? Of course, they're going to try to follow the laws as best as possible. But the fact that they put this in here, again, is like, I'm sorry, what more control can we give you of state-run universities and colleges here? Right, exactly. We're getting basically, it's like he goes around and gets called out for stuff, and then he says, nah, you did it, and then flips it. Right, so know your customer is the KYC Navy vet. Know your customer. Oh my goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. I can't. This is crazy town. All right, here we go. By entering into this agreement, universities agree to maintain, the anti-money laundering and KYC program in accordance with the Bank Secretary Act. Again, they have to follow the law, okay, as amended by the USA Patriot Act, and other applicable federal laws and regulations, including Section 117 of the Higher Education Act. The program is reasonably designed to prevent university services from being used to facilitate money laundering and the financing of T-or-risk activities, and to ensure transparency and public accountability. The program includes the following. So let me pause for a minute and come back up here. As amended by the U.S. Patriot Act, the USA Patriot Act, which, by the way, it's not just the Patriot Act. There is actually a word for the U, the S, and the A. Now, it's I don't have it on the top of my head at the moment, but the USA Patriot Act has expired, all right? And so the reason I bring this up is because why do you even need to put that in there? of course you follow the law, however it's been amended. It doesn't matter what's amended it. If there's a law, you follow the law. And so here, it's like, what's the intent behind tossing in the USA Patriot Act, which is now defunct, right? So this is kind of a bullying situation here, in my humble opinion. So, all right. So here we go. The program includes the following. A, procedures to verify counterpart identification and retain necessary identifying and transactional information. B, the designated compliance officer to coordinate compliance with the program and make timely disclosures to federal agencies. So, hi, I spy with my little eye someone from the federal government walking around and taking notes on what everybody's doing at a state college. That's what's going on here. C, suspicious activity reporting procedures and document retention guidelines for any suspicious activity reports and supporting documentation. Like they don't already have something in place when people are suspicious of wrongdoing, right? That's funny. Thank you so much, Navy Vet. I appreciate that. United and Strengthening America. Yes. So it's not, and I think most people think it's like, oh yeah, USA, but it's just a really long, name. It's just got a lot of abbreviations, very long, because of that. So I appreciate that. Yes. Tall fan. I feel like I'm getting smaller every day. All right, here we go. Right, so what I'm trying to say is if there's suspicious activity, they should already be reporting that. So, duh. Letter D, training and education of appropriate university personnel concerning their responsibilities under the program, including suspicious activity reporting. So they're saying now you need to take this compact we've set out and you need to set up a program to make sure that you can train everybody to follow it. So that's not great. Oh my goodness, everybody. All right, we're almost done. We're making it through. We're slugging through this. Here we go. Oh my gosh, here we go. Concerns regarding transactions that are unusually large or that appear suspicious and questions regarding money laundering in general should be directed to the university's Treasury Management Office. All right, next up, they are trying to decide and tell the Treasury Management Office what to do. All right. Federal permission for foreign student visas is intended to further America's national interest to the extent the selected foreign students exhibit extraordinary talent. Holy crap buckets, everybody. Wow, this is just blowing my mind. This is blowing my mind. And I say that like never. So get you your federal permission, right? Now, of course, in order to go through the process of getting your visa, you do what you need to do, right? So, do what you need to do. But if we're talking about, this person has a great talent and this person doesn't, so we're going to pick and choose and revoke visas, right? Which is actually what's happening right now. So it's very discriminatory. And only the people with extraordinary talent that promises to make America stronger and more economically productive, and the selective students are introduced to and supportive of American and Western values. What the H are American and Western values, right? You're gonna have to go to the Heritage website. Ultimately increasing global understanding and appreciation for the United States and our way of life. That's like authoritarian language right here. This is just straight up authoritarian language. We want you to appreciate the United States and our way of life. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Right, exactly. Who decides it? Exactly. All right. Universities that rely on foreign students to fund their institutions risk, among other things, potentially reducing spots available to deserving American students. That's wrong. And this is like almost verbatim the letter that they wrote to Harvard. Like verbatim, they just copy and pasted it. And if not properly vetted, saturating the campus with noxious values such as anti-Semitism and other anti-American values, creating serious national security risks. So this is racist. I mean, I know you tossed in anti-Semitism, but, you know, those two words aren't going to help you not look racist, right? This is just awful. Just awful. So again, for those of you keeping track at home, this will be our second worst thing I've ever seen the government force upon people that they have no control over. All right, so here we go. We'll just highlight that. This number 2. We'll go back through and look at the giant paragraphs that are so blatantly racist. All right. Moving forward. So therefore, no more than 15% of a university's undergraduate student population shall be participants in the student visa exchange program, and no more than 5% shall be from any one country. All right. So again, they are micromanaging foreign students. Who can come in, who can't come in. They're not letting the university decide that. Right. For schools presently over the 15% population, incoming matriculating classes should meet the 15% cap. Signatories pledge to select those foreign students on the basis of demonstrably extraordinary talent rather than on the basis of financial advantage to the university, to screen out students who demonstrate hostility to the United States, its allies, or its values. Again, who's making that determination? And to provide instruction in American civics to all foreign students. How about domestic? Can we do that? Can we do domestic American civics? And the executive branch. Maybe the executive branch needs to learn a little more about civics to all foreign students. Well, I mean, they're not citizens, but they're going to require certain types of education specifically from the executive branch. That's interesting. Universities shall share all knowledge, all known information about foreign students, including discipline records upon request and as relevant with the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State. This is verbatim what is in the Harvard letter, where Harvard said this is so unconstitutional and wretched, we won't sign it. So they are telling the universities, all right, let's just make sure, how many foreign students can be here in their colleges, and they're capping it. Not only that, but they are saying, and you need to narc on anybody that you think might be whatever. You have to tell the federal government all about it. And specifically, if the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State come a knocking, you need to just give all that information away. So basically, there's no Fourth Amendment. There's no Fourth Amendment protection, and there's no equal protection either because of that. Can citizens resist military? No. I mean, anybody can resist the military, right? But you pay the price. You pay the price. And I think, real quick, as a quick side note, so we can take a minute to digest this crap. I think one thing a lot of people forget about, or just, may not know about with MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., it wasn't just about, peaceful protesting and love and, the Christian goodness. Dr. King knew that if you picked your hand up and you raised it against law enforcement, if you started to go down that road, then they would focus on that rather than what needed to be done to change in society. So it wasn't just all, let's hug some trees and be friends. It was also his attempt to try to protect the people out there as well in the fields doing all of the work. He's like, look, listen, if you're going to go aggressive, if you're not going to be peaceful, that is going to harm what we need to do and have it be done. That was one of the sticking points between Dr. King and Malcolm X. Malcolm X is like, what's this crap? You do this, I'm going to meet you with the same energy, people. But Dr. King's like, that would be the elimination of our people because it would give them an excuse to bring even more force out into the open. Just as a little history moment here. Oh my gosh, I tell you what, with what's going on in Portland, it's just absolutely Ridiculous. In case we the people caught onto the tyranny. Well, probably. Right. It seems like that. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say like, "Oh, everything is awesome." It's not. It's not. We are teetering on the brink. And I think we got to be careful. Every step we take right now needs to be careful. Yes, in 1984. True. And then they lie about what happens. Exactly, Stephanie. But here's the other kicker too. All right, so it's not all just like, oh my gosh, because, well, maybe this doesn't make you feel better. I see you there, Ken. This was a comment I made once, and I think you said it didn't make you feel better, but I'm going to try. You have to remember that this isn't something new, right? So what they're doing to protesters now, like they don't really care what you're doing. They're just kind of going out and causing harm, right? You're like, oh, that's awful. True, but it's not new. That's part of the criminal justice system. It's part of the process that's been used for a very long time. It just hasn't been used against the people that it's being used against right now. And so that's why it seems like, oh, I can't believe they're doing that. It's like, well, if you read the news and watch how groups of people have been treated, right, you'll see that the same kinds of methodology has been applied. So this isn't, again, not necessarily something new, but something now that has a light on it. Exactly. How am I supposed to deal with this? Do I need to build a bunker? I've got a bunker, Ruthie. Sophisticated mass. Right. Right. And I'm not sure it's really that sophisticated, actually. Where's Action White House? Right. Well, yeah, exactly. You make up what you want to make up. They really do, Cindy. And for any university, again, back on track here, everyone. It's incredibly worrisome, and people are very worried, and I totally understand why. But back into this, one of the things that the governor of California was saying is, like, don't sign it. You're going to lose all your credibility. And then for each of these different universities and colleges, like, there are law firms that have already, conceded. There are some schools that have already conceded, submitted. And, we're in another spot where we're saying we don't have control over these universities and colleges. No, but we can control whether or not we send our children to them, right? So, we got to kind of keep it in the air, keep it moving so people don't forget. Highlighted sentence violates. Yes, it does. It certainly does, Ken. Excellent. And that's one of the reasons why, we're needing to hire it. We've got multiple violations here. Equal protection violations. We have state versus federal, sovereignty issues, and then, of course, Fourth Amendment issues as well. Yeah, some of them did, Stephanie. And I will tell you what, if you ever get in a room with a bunch of attorneys, which I don't recommend, but if you go out and you sit and you're like, whoa, they gave in, the respect is gone. And when you lose your respect as a lawyer, you lose your credibility, like most of the high-level attorneys have in this administration. No one's going to believe what you're saying, and no one's going to cut you any slack on anything. So that's kind of what happens. Going to let us see. And I don't know about that, Ken. I don't know about the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court, I don't know. I would, before this Supreme Court, if it was a different Supreme Court, I would be like, no way. But now I'm like, I'm not sure. I have definitely moved to the middle. A contract with illegal clauses is not valid. Absolutely, Cindy. Correct. That is so true. Well, if I see lawyers in the smoking section, I find another one. That's smart. Because, the thing is, they will, yeah. So I read the room, read the attorneys, see what's going on there. Are we going to make it through the end of this administration? Absolutely, we're going to make it through. See, the other thing too, historically, everyone, is that, this isn't the first time a dumbass has come in and tried to kick stuff around. We've had stuff kicked around quite a bit, actually, in the 200 and whatever years that we've been here. And even before that. It's just this one is so clear and so aggressive and so quick because of, hello, we're in modern times, that it's overwhelming. So, but there have been a lot of people that have come in and done a lot of damage in one way or the other. And every single time that's happened, the people have risen up and said, you're done. So it just is, perpetual. It's like we're in a perpetual circle of going and fighting over and over and over again. It's just continues. So I've got no doubt we'll make it through. Congress. That's funny. Oh my gosh, yeah. Do you think that there's any possibility that there should be some changes to the U.S. Constitution? Hold on, let me see. I don't see the rest of your question. The U.S. Constitution, all right, help me out, chat. Very reassuring. Well, it just is what it is. 30s and 40s was Congress, absolutely, Navy vet. Absolutely. And the Supreme Court wasn't doing a great job either at that period of time. So, yes, of course, we need some changes to the U.S. Constitution. I think one of the most important changes, right, that most people are thinking about is like, hey, what are the requirements to actually run for president, right? We don't have any requirements other than age and, how long you've been in the country, if you're born in the country. That's it. Also, we only have a couple of things listed out for things that you can do that are impeachable. That's another problem that we have. Term limitations for justices, term limitations for Congress. There's a ton of stuff. I mean, we're not even into the Electoral College debate, but there are a ton of things that I think people are now recognizing really need to be addressed. It's like, we can't put this off anymore, people. But as you know, the possibility of getting an amendment has to go through Congress. I know we can call it Constitutional Convention, but that's never been done. This could be the first time. We don't know. Congress has to set it out and the states have to ratify it. So right now we're in such a janked up place because of all of the awfulness. I don't think we'll have enough people to vote and agree. Can these people be charged with treason? Good question, Navy vet. And I think now I'm at a point where I can answer, could they be charged with treason? Yes. Will they be charged with treason? No. And that's kind of something new I've had to wrap my mind around, that there are rules and laws that should be enforced. But will they be enforced? No. And I base this off of everyone that came back into government after the Civil War. So that's kind of where I'm at for that. The Philadelphia Convention. Well, right, exactly. And there is already a drafted amendment to work on those electoral college issues. Right, to put in basics, like if you're a felon, maybe you shouldn't run. Maybe that shouldn't be a part of that. Right. And again, and as another quick side note here, let's finish to the other comment. Okay, I got you now. You know how I am, Navy vet. I'm bouncing all over the room here. But one more comment here that I just noticed, like as far as men and women go. I cannot, again, I feel like, and maybe it's because I've been in politics since I was 9 years old, but I feel like, these kinds of issues have always been there. And a solution to them, I don't see it anywhere on the horizon. I don't see in my lifetime that there will be a solution. One of the reasons why the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, didn't pass was for that very reason, the definitions, right? So equal protection, no matter if you're a man or a woman. But then, we have a gender versus sex situation occurring. And that caused such a hullabaloo because people are so misinformed about that world that the ERA has no luck and it just slides away. Yeah, Willie B, you're not wrong. I say that I would agree with that. So yes, and I know that's a huge issue for a lot of people. And let me just put a sticky note here, all right, to acknowledge it. All right, we're going to just hash it out before dive into the next paragraph that's going to probably knock me out of my chair. All right, now here we go. Men, women, all right? And people are like, blah, 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 blah. And then we have, what word do I want to use here? We have men and women and not. Not men and women. What's the best word? Okay. Yeah, help me out. What's another word? What's another word I can put in here? Oh, it has been a while. It has been a while. Just want to make sure I get the right word in here. Non-binary. That's the thing. Is that the proper term? Is that other? Right. Others. Okay. Others. Others non-binary. Okay. So, and again, forgive me. That's my lack of knowledge. Non-binary. Okay. Let's use that. Non-binary. I don't want to put the wrong term in. Okay. Binary. Oh, I hope I spelled that right. All right. So here we go. All right. Just, it doesn't have to be complicated. So men, typical, women, typical, and then our non-binary community here, which is what it is. It's always been part of our society, but for now, some reason, it's got a magnifying glass. So the comment is, how to define this. And whenever I start talking about this, I always try to remember, this is a small group of people. This is a small group of people. We're not talking about 80% of the country. We're not talking about, like 55%. Like people come in, they're like, oh no, you can't define what a man or a woman is. Not true, first of all. Second of all, science, it's important. And third of all, leave these people alone, right? I mean, right? It's not, we've got so many problems going on in this country, especially when it comes to equality of people, that to shine a light here on non-binary and make them a target just to me seems absolutely ludicrous, right? Because they're not the numbers. If you have enough numbers in your group, in my humble opinion, to form a militia, we need to be worried, all right? Significant militia. But if you don't, just, leave them be. That's kind of where I'm at with it. So I don't spend too much time talking about this one. Bullies have to go after the weakest. Exactly, James, exactly. Right. And I'm not saying don't ask, don't tell. I'm not saying, I don't want to know what your business is. No, I do. If I'm using the wrong language, I want you to tell me I'm using the wrong language. But, I also don't think that the focus is so important to a particular, class of people the way that it's been done right now. Then should I be worried about women? I don't know, Navy Vet. Only you know the answer to that. And Mr. Rogers. I miss Mr. Rogers. So anyway, I hope my little spiel here isn't too offensive. There are so many people in my world and everybody's different and that's so important. Everybody's different. And some it's like, that's great. Some it's like, you could do better. And I respect that. But, again, like we need to challenge the concept of gender as socially created. Yes. And that question, that issue has been around since, Mount Olympus. And so that's not something we're going to easily be able to get an answer to. Right? Meanwhile, something we can get an answer to is the federal government getting out of state colleges and universities business. All right? So you see what I'm saying? That's going to be an ongoing issue for a long time. But here, we've got questions about federal power. All right, jumping back in, everybody. All right, I did my best. So that's why some people are like, why doesn't she ever talk about that? Well, now you know, okay? So here we go. Let's dive back in. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. As a recipient of significant funding and other benefits from the U.S. government, all universities shall promptly and fully disclose all funding from any foreign institutions and individuals. Okay. No foreign funding may in any way encourage or restrict the hiring of any persons or the teaching of any particular perspective or the admission of any foreign students or group of students. Failure to fully disclose all direct and indirect foreign funding shall be a violation of this compact. So again, now they're talking again, full disclosure. They want you to tell the federal government, even if it's not required, all of that. Can go first on their front. Exactly right, exactly. So the funding, how you're implementing it, what's happening, who gets it, the federal government wants to decide and be notified. Because what happens, right, realistically, if we take it to the end here, you're like, okay, here's my list of people, federal government, and then the federal government's like, you screwed up, you're done. So what are they going to do now? Pull your accreditation, pull your funding? Because every time you give in, they're just going to take more. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do this compact. But then when you actually start doing it, they're going to say you're not doing it well enough. So boom, you're all the way right back where you were before with the funding being used. Because this kind of methodology just grows and grows until it's out of control. Everyone should have a watch. Come on, doughboy. That seems a little discriminatory against people that don't want watches. All right, here we go. Oh, we've got exceptions. This is our last page, everyone. We do have exceptions, number 9 here. Because they're I know, Stephanie, exactly. They're the criminals. We do have the laws, and they are the criminals. It's just, where's Elliot Ness when you need him? You know what I mean? Notwithstanding the foregoing, a religious institution may maintain preferences for religious affiliation or belief in hiring and admission. A single SEX institution may maintain SEX-based preferences. That's illegal. All right, that is actually, we've had a case. I don't know. I want to say it's the Craig v. Boren case, but I may be wrong with that. But we have had cases come down that say, no, you cannot do that. And any institution may maintain preferences in admissions for American citizens. All right. So, again, that's just kind of that blatant racism. Nothing in this agreement limits or displaces the limited exemptions for bona fide occupational qualifications based on religion, national origin, or SEX provided by Title VII. The protections or exemptions provided by Title VII for religious employers and religious organizations, or the ministerial exemption recognized by the Supreme Court. So none of this is okay. None of this would be compliance with our with the First Amendment. All right, next up, enforcement. The leadership of an academic institution is directly responsible for its strategy, success, and adherence to legal or governmental requirements. So are they trying to make little mini princes now? Or what's below the prince? Like the barons? Is that right? Are the barons below? I don't know. This is in England, man. We don't. Let them make their own choices here. On an annual basis, the university's president, provost, and head of admissions shall be required to certify the university's adherence to the principles contained herein. All right, that's a yikes. The university annually shall conduct or hire an external party to conduct an independent, good faith, empirically rigorous, and anonymous poll of its faculty, students, and staff, providing them with opportunity to evaluate the university's performance against this compact. The results of such surveys shall be made public and available on the university's website. The lords and ladies, thank you very much. Oh my goodness. Adherence to this agreement shall be subject to review by the Department of Justice. Universities found to have willfully or negligently violated this agreement shall lose access to benefits of this agreement for a period of no less than 1 year. So again, if you don't do it the way they want you to do it, you can still sign it. But if you don't do it how they want you to do it, then you're going to be punished. Subsequent violations of this agreement shall result in a loss of access to the benefits of this agreement for no less than 2 years. Further, upon determination of any violations that the federal government sees, all monies advanced by the U.S. government during the year of any violation shall be returned to the U.S. government. This is absolutely ludicrous. This is just absolutely bonkers here. Finally, any private contributions to the university during the year in which such violation occurred shall be returned to the grantor upon the request of the grantor. It is. And I guess there are some places in academics where compact can be used, but this is, that's not really what this is, in my humble opinion. So there you go, everybody. We made it through. It took 2 lives. Sorry about that. But there you go. I mean, this is bananas. This is just absolutely bananas. So first of all, it absolutely has the same tone and verbiage as the letter to Harvard, where they said, you got to change all these things or we're going to shut you down. And your $4.2 billion or whatever is gone. Second of all, this takes the P25 intent, and that section of P25 was not very long. It was like, 15, 20 pages, and takes the intent, takes what they want, and expands it. So this is actually more restrictive than P25. So, oh my goodness gracious, that's awful. Pretty awful. Who signed it? So that is something I'm not sure about. I just know it was sent from the government to these different places. I would imagine it would be the DOE probably, but it could also be through one of the money places too. So that I just don't know. I know. Yeah, and it's not easy really to track this down. This took a little bit of work to track down, but there are a lot of stories though hitting the news, and some aren't quite right, but they're getting the basic gist of it. And her personal AI. Well, oh my goodness gracious, right? Good evening, Suzanne. I know it's a lot, and again, I would caution you, don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed by this. We are in the first stages. Like, people just received this email yesterday. All right, we're very early. And so again, the governor of California is like, don't be signing this or you're not going to get your money, which shows for the first time now, we have a governor standing up and saying, we've got money too. If we're going to do this, then let's throw it. So claim your points, everybody. Absolutely, Kaya. Oh my gosh, thanks for hanging out with me so much today, Kaya. I've been all over the place. Yeah. So this, again, I think this is an excellent way to test how these particular universities and colleges view what they're doing. They have that choice to make. They can sign something like this and give the power away from their college to the federal government, right? And I don't even know who would have that authority to do that. You can't just ask the president of the university, like, will you sign this? Because it has so much of a broad effect on everything. Like, who's even going to sign it? Like, who owns the university, The people do, because it's state run. Oh, thanks, Kay. That's so sweet. I appreciate you so much. Hope that they do it. Yes. But again, this is kind of like a come to G or whomever it is you believe in that has authority. Like a come to realization moment where you have to say, are these universities wanting to do this, right? Do they want this? Do they want the federal government to kind of, I'm just seeing the blob like taking over the university. Do they want that? And if so, then, people need to take a look at that university and factor that in if that's a place that you're wanting to go. So with that. Yes, and many are private as well, but they still get the funding. And Harvard's nonprofit, right? So I mean, there are a ton out there that are like that, and they're still going to be affected by all of this baloney going on here. All right, with that, everyone, I have got, and let me just give you a sneak peek here. I have got for my next live, and again, I'm having to do real short periods of time here because I'm not quite better yet, but I do have the complaint that has been filed by Mr. Chansley here, where he's claiming he should be the president of the United States. The horn-wearing fella with his face painted during J6 and is suing. And then I also have, I think we're going to really need to take some time on this too. I also have been going through the speech that General Mark Milley, I'm going to say Milley, I hope that's right, gave in his farewell address. Because, oh my gosh, there's some really amazing moments in the speech. And, as a side note, I have studied speeches. That was kind of my minor in college. Where, we look at all the different speeches and all the way they've been designed and presented. So for me, I really enjoy going through and reading word for word what exactly is being said. And this one's pretty amazing. So I'll probably start that as well over the next couple of days. So, oh, great, everybody. Yeah, I haven't heard it. I haven't. I need to take more time. They keep referring to it. Okay, great. Woohoo. What are Aristotle's 3 modes of rhetoric? Go. You're not the boss of me, doughboy. You're not my boss. Yeah, so with that, bye, everybody. Have a good night.